Welcome, everyone. For you of those that don't know me, my name's Jeff, aka Mad Hatter Organiks, and this is the Growers Exchange podcast. I wanted to start this podcast to get more information out there about different growers, breeders, and industry companies. So stick with us as we exchange all types of grower knowledge. First off, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Autopot USA, for the best plant-driven automated watering system out there. Use discount code MADHATTER10 on autopot-usa.com for 10% off your entire order. Now, let's get started with the conversation. Welcome, everybody, to the 14th episode of the Growers Exchange podcast. I have another small-time homegrown, kind of you and I kind of thing. So, welcome in 420 Organiks. Thanks for coming, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. So tell everyone
Definitely.
a little bit about yourself. There, kind of where you're from, what your background's like, and get things rolling.
Um, I'm from Ontario, Canada. I've been growing now for about 5 years. I think I'm going up on my fifth year. Started in 2018 when we went legal here, and yeah, we went legal in October, and I started growing the spring before October. Outdoor was my first, and then I didn't do a whole lot. I put them in pots and I put them out in the backyard and I watered them with the hose and didn't know anything about it. And basically from there, I just kind of grew an interest for doing this. And that's when I realized about YouTube and not so much Instagram or anything like that, just YouTube at the time. And I turned to YouTube University for everything I know, basically.
Yeah, yeah. YouTube's a
So
pretty good way to learn how to grow, for sure. There's
it it
lots of good
really is.
information.
The only problem I found with it was like there's so much information and as a new grower, there's too much.
Yeah, yeah. It
And
kind
when
of gets
you're like,
overwhelming.
well, and I was super eager. I wanted to know everything that there was to know. So I wanted to know everything about synthetic. I wanted to know everything about organic. And then I kind of mashed them together and eventually kind of developed my own way of doing things. But I'd have a problem with something and I would just like watch 35 different videos and try 35 different things to correct that one problem. And then I'd end up with 35 other problems.
Mm,
So, that's the problem I found with YouTube, but YouTube is an amazing place if you know what you're looking for.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you think you have one issue, say like a magnesium issue or something, and then you go and YouTube it, and everyone's like, yeah, just add this, and you should be good. Well, really,
Yeah,
it's more of like a a root issue kind of thing, and what you added in is just gonna increase the deficiency even further. Yeah, sometimes it's
you end up with you end up with like a pH problem or something like that, and you're giving it everything it needs.
yeah,
And when you end up with that pH problem, now all of a sudden it's just not absorbing the nutrients you're giving it, So really, you're doing everything that you can except for something else is off.
yeah,
And nine times out of 10 for me, that seems to be the problem.
yeah, yeah. The good intention is there, but sometimes it's works out to be an issue at the end.
Exactly.
Cool.
So,
So you've been growing for a few years now. What's kind of your setup like? Your tent
um,
grower, outdoor grower. Would run us through?
I do I do both. Um, Outdoor was more like a hobby for me. I wanted to see how big the plants could get. I wanted to see how much I could grow on one plant. Where indoor, I went for like the quality aspect of it. So I didn't really smoke my outdoor.
Mm,
It was I use that for edibles or I do coconut oil, butter, stuff like that, and I would use that for that because it worked out great. It was better than using trim. So I also grow in tents. Right now I have two 3x3 tents set up, but I did have two 3x3s, a 5x5, and then two, I guess they call them like propagation tents.
Yeah.
It's like a sideways 3x2 tent that's
Oh,
two
yeah.
feet tall.
Yeah.
So, I did all my clones and seedlings and stuff in there. And then I had two veg tents, which were my two 3x3s. And then I had a 5x5 flower tent. And I got everything kind of on that perpetual grow. So basically every 8 weeks, I would harvest my 5x5. And then I would move over a 3x3 over there and just, you know, spread everything out and try to fill that 5x5.
Cool. Yeah, it seems
So,
like you got a pretty good system going on there. I mean,
yeah, I did
with
at
an
one point.
with a name like 420 Organics, I would assume that you run all organic stuff then.
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I started with synthetic. So
Yeah.
after my first year was kind of like my foot in the ground. Um, and I didn't really do a whole lot. I think I did like blood meal and chicken manure.
Okay.
I think was the only two things I gave my plants. And I pretty well just used like Walmart black earth and dirt from my backyard. So
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that
I
starting off.
Yeah, and I just didn't know anything, right? So I didn't know what kind of soil to use. I didn't know anything about cocoa or peat-based anything. Like I literally knew nothing. And and then when I started actually giving nutrients and using some of this research I learned, I started using advanced nutrients. And quickly I learned like, I got like 12 bottles of stuff that I got to mix every feeding, like every 2 or 3 days kind of thing. And I just said, like, there's got to be an easier way. There has to be a better way to do this. And then that's when I found out about Gaia Green.
Hmm.
So I started using Gaia Green and Promix. And Gaia Green, Promix, and worm castings.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's a pretty simple mix, hey?
It really is. And like anybody can do it. And you
Yeah.
can make it super simple or you can make it super complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
think
and I've seen,
a lot of
sorry, go ahead.
people kind of develop that little recipe from Mr. Canuck on YouTube there. He can I wouldn't say he developed the recipe. I would say more like, it's Clackamas Coots mix, but just with a little bit, added on top. So it's
Yeah,
a
100%. Mr. Canuck was probably one of the first people that I saw using Gaia Green, and I followed his. Not necessarily did I follow his recipe, but I mean I did in a way for a little while,
yeah,
and it was just such a simple way to do things, and I thought like, okay, well maybe this is the simple way that I was looking for.
yeah,
He obviously gets great results. He shows it in all his YouTube videos, and thought, you know what, I'm gonna try it, and I got great results my first try.
yeah,
So, after that, then I thought, okay, well, now what can I do? What does this do, or what does that do? So now I have like my own kind of recipe and based off of Gaia Green. Basically, everything I give it is Gaia Green, and yeah, I've added a couple other things in there over the years that aren't Gaia Green, but
yeah, yeah. I'm very similar to you. I started off kind of copycatting his little ways of doing things, and then I added
yeah,
in some mycorrhiza, some dinomyco, and then you know, bokashi, different compost. I didn't follow his,
yep,
recipe to a T, but I started doing my own little thing, but it's been working out great.
yeah, yeah, and honestly, like I haven't had bad results yet, and
No,
I definitely can have better results. There's always room for improvement, even if you keep the same recipe.
yeah,
There's always room for improvement because you might add a little bit more, you might add a little bit less, you might add certain things at different times, or whatever the case is. And there's always room to get better at what you do, no matter how easy it is or how good you get.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, organics when you're going from a synthetic growing methods into going into organics, it's kind of a little bit nerve-wracking. You're kind of uneasy about getting into it because it or synthetics is just so simple. It's just add into the water, feed your plants, and just do it over and over again, kind of thing. But when you
Yeah.
when you're having to rely on your soil to feed your plants, it's like, shit, did I have enough in there? Like, do
Yeah.
I have enough?
Or did I
Should I add more? Should I add less?
did I do it soon enough?
Yeah.
That was the first problem that I ran into with Gaia Green. I followed the containers
Hmm.
and I went, I think I top dressed my first feeding. Like it would have been my second feeding because I mix it into my soil
Yeah.
first, and then I do another top dressing like 2 to 3 weeks in. But then I did it like 4 weeks in. So like as you know, it takes a week to 2 weeks basically to really honestly start getting any of that nutrients you just added because it takes time for everything to break down.
Yeah.
So when your plants go into a deficiency and you're top dressing now, you're the damage is already done. Now it's recovery time.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And, all the
So
different terminologies too. The no-till, the living soil, the water only. Like it's yeah, it gets overwhelming for sure.
yeah, and that's what I meant. Like you can make it super simple, or you can really dive in
Yeah.
and and you can start doing some of the stuff like what you do with the ferment teas and worm casting teas,
Yeah. That
with
was
mycelium teas. There's so many different ways to do it.
yeah. Yeah. That was a whole nother issue in itself. Was you know what do they mean by brewing a tea? Like,
Yeah,
do I boil water and throw a tea bag in there? No, it's I and then you have to come up here with a recipe that works for you, and uh,
yeah,
yeah, it's a huge benefit though. I love growing organic. I do grow some salts, but it's mainly all organic, and all my outdoor stuff is all organic as well. And
yeah.
yeah, gonna try
Last
really
year was
hard
my
to.
very first organic grow because I had so much synthetic nutrients left. I thought, well, I just got to use it up. So I might as well use it on my outdoor plants because why not? It's more, like I said, it's just kind of a hobby for me outdoors.
Yeah,
So the summer, like last summer, was my very first full organic run, and it was the best outdoor I've had yet
yeah,
by
yeah.
far. And it's the same strain I've been growing for like 4 years. Same, it's a clone off of the same plant,
Nice.
and this was my best year, and it was all Gaia Green.
Yeah, yeah. Let Mother Nature play with Mother Nature.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. That's what I try to tell people. Like we're just trying to mimic what nature does, and there's so many things that we've changed to do this indoor thing or outdoor. For outdoor for that matter. We've changed so much,
mm-hmm.
and the only thing that we've left the same is the weather because we can't control it. We've tried covering them. We've tried doing this. We've tried doing that. I used to do cages around mine. I
Mm-hmm.
would do an inner cage and an outer cage, and then I would scrog it with like bamboo sticks on top, and I would build a big grid. And I would do
Nice.
2 layers of it, and that would be for wind and just to hold everything up by the end.
Yeah, yeah. So you
So
drew some pretty big outdoor plants then. You had two trellis cages.
yeah, I used to use the the wire that you used for like concrete driveways and
Oh yeah,
sidewalks and stuff like
yeah. A
that, the
little
wire mesh.
4-inch wire kind of.
Yeah, I think these ones were six. These were 6-inch squares, and they were 4x8 sheets. So like the sheet, same size as like a sheet of drywall.
Yeah.
I took, I want to say it was like 3/4 of one, and I made the small cage. I just rolled it, zip tied it all together, and then I took 2 cages, uh, so like 16 feet, attached them, rolled them around, and then I went like a couple squares in just to kind of give it some strength. And I staked those ones up, so the top of it was at 6 feet, and that's where the top of my bamboo scrog was too.
Nice. Yeah, I'd say those are pretty decent plants then.
Yeah, the last one I did 3 pounds on on my last one. I only did the one, and it was a 3 pounder.
Beautiful.
And
Can't
I have a
complain with that.
fence right beside where they were growing, and it's a public walkway,
Oh shit.
and it's super busy. Like parents are walking their dogs and their kids to school every morning, and they're walking by it, and I can hear them being like, "Ooh, smells like a skunk." And so I had to keep it low. Like I had to keep it as low as my fence.
Yeah.
I didn't live in the best neighborhood, and there's a lot of like teenagers around and stuff like that. So I had to keep it 6 feet or lower. So it stayed 6 feet, but I put a 7 foot chicken wire fence that's 4 feet tall around it,
Hmm.
and it actually ended up pushing the fences out.
Well,
And so this thing ended up being about 8 feet wide and about 6 feet tall. It was my height.
it's not too bad. I remember a couple years back, I grew a couple outdoors, and I had them up against my 6'6" fence, and they grew taller than that. Somebody, I think it was around beginning of September, mid-September, and they still had like probably 3 to 4 weeks left. And somebody popped over my fence, topped the whole plant, cut the colas off the plant, and walked away with it. I was just like, "What do you like? They're not even ready. They're nowhere close. Like you're just gonna
Yeah.
smoke and get a headache, man. Like, good on you.
Yep.
Thanks for topping my
Yeah. You're
plant."
gonna cough. Yeah, you're not gonna like. You're gonna think I'm a horrible grower.
Yeah, yeah,
But they're kids. Like they don't know. They
yeah,
don't even know what they just did.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you don't know
And that was
that.
the same thing. I had um I had these two kids. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and our area was really really dark. And I had all black on. I had a black sweater and like dark colored jeans. And I'm in my backyard, and I hear this kid climbing the fence on the other side. We have a wood fence and then the chain link
Yeah,
fence on the other side. And I hear the one guy go, "It's right there. Just look. Just look over. It's right there." So I'm standing there. I'm like 5 feet from the plant,
yeah,
and I watch him climb up over the fence, and he just kind of looks down at it. And he's like, "Oh, there it is. Look it. There's more over there." They're pointing at all of them. They knew where they all were,
yeah,
and I confronted him the next day, and I didn't tell him what he was looking at. I asked him, "You see something in my backyard that you liked? Like, what was it?" And I said, "Just I know where you are. I know where your parents are. I will be coming to talk to your parents if something happens."
right.
And nothing happened.
Yeah, good.
Nothing happened.
Yeah,
But
these pesky neighbors, right? They're never trust anybody around here.
no, and like that's just one worry you got to worry about outdoors. Like you got to worry about weather, humidity,
Mm,
powdery mildew, pests, neighbors. Like there's so much.
yeah. Are you in an area where you have like a little bit longer of a summer, like say like the southern kind of tip of Ontario there? It's kind of the growing season seems to be a little bit longer than where I'm at least. I think my first frost is typically around September 20th. Um,
Oh,
so I would,
that's not far off of ours. Like I would say end of September, early October.
yeah,
I always try to get them down right. My birthday's October 5th, so I always try to get them down right around either the weekend of my birth, like whatever weekend falls close to my birthday, or the weekend after,
yeah,
depending on the weather. Like if I think we're gonna get some dry weather for the next few days, decent temperatures, I'll leave them as long as I can because I know they're early. But I would rather take them down a week early than end up with like bud rot or mildew or you know something. Too much rain and everything just falls over because it's too heavy.
yeah. I was talking to Mama
So
Kush there a few weeks back, and she was, I grew up in kind of her part of the neighborhood there, and over on the west coast of Canada. And last year they had an amazing outdoor season. It lasted right to the end of October. They were pretty much everyone
yeah,
was able to get a full harvest in without having any bud rot or powdery mildew issues or anything. So, um,
yeah, she had a really good year last year, actually, last
yeah,
summer.
yeah. Hopefully we can have another one of those this year. But
Hmm.
it's not.
Do you do much outdoor?
No. I have a
No.
greenhouse that I do a little bit in, but the outdoor season here is kind of too short. There's too many bugs, and there's lots of hemp fields around. So we get lots of
Oh,
hemp pollen that flies miles and miles and miles, and kind of destroys our plants. So I've had
everything
seeded
gets
out
seeded.
plants like no tomorrow. It's to me it's useless. I do a little
Yeah.
bit. I'll be doing a bunch of autoflowers in my greenhouse this year. I have a big kind of 8 foot long, 2 feet tall, 2 feet wide bed that I
Nice.
use. I take all my old soil out of my tents, and I just dump them into that living soil bed kind of thing. I'm going to be doing a cover crop. I'm going to be adding worms in there this year, and I'll be hopefully doing a few autoflowers in there. Kind of
Yeah.
peak season, so hopefully I can get the
Nice.
best
Have you
amount of
done
sun.
autos outside before, or is that going to be your first?
I've done a couple, but they also got pollinated with the hemp pollen, so they kind of just got wrecked.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah,
That really sucks.
yeah,
I've heard of that happening before. Tally Grown Buds, do you know who he is?
I think so. Yeah,
He's got a fairly decent sized YouTube channel where he's just a
yeah, yeah,
huge outdoor Northern California organic grower, like a no-till grower.
yeah,
And he shows everything, like whether he really messes up or it's really, really good.
yeah,
He'll show you every step, every problem, every single thing, what he does to correct it. Um, but he was saying last year, no, the year before last, everything just got seeded. Like one of his neighbors had a male plant somewhere
yeah.
and wiped out like a 25-pound garden,
Jeez.
or whatever it was. It was it's big.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
does, I
Pollen
think, like
can
12,
fly.
12 or 15 plants. So
Ah, that would suck to lose all that amount of weight. But yeah,
yeah. Oh man, like
pollen can fly for miles and miles and miles, and it's just microscopic, and you know
yeah,
it's crazy.
it is. It's horrible.
Yeah,
I've had seeds too, but I think it's just because of like light or whatever. Like it was a stress problem, like a herm.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and
Well,
I've definitely seeded my own indoor stuff. Like I missed a mail somewhere.
yeah, yeah. You don't catch a nanner or don't catch a herm down below somewhere. Yeah,
Yep.
it happens.
Yeah. All it takes is a couple of them.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
So,
So you grow organics, grow inside and outdoors.
yep.
What kind of pots are you growing in? 5 gallon, 10 gallon pots?
For which indoor or outdoor?
Let's say indoor.
Indoor, I typically do fives,
Yeah.
but depending on my space, I'll go down as low as three.
Okay.
So indoor, I don't think I've done over 5 gallon. But outdoor, I grew in like this year, I grew in a 100-gallon pot outside.
Nice. And you,
So that was it.
with that outdoor 100 gallon pot, are you reusing your soil for next year? You're just gonna re-amend it and reuse it for next year?
We were going to, and then I realized that um, the people who I'm staying with right now, they have a dog, and the dog was going in there and
Mm,
doing its thing. So we ended up getting rid of it. So I wanted to use it
yeah.
for sure, but I think we're just gonna start over.
You have to take that cage that you made and just make a cage around that pot so it keeps
The
the dog
problem
off
was is
of it.
the dog could get through it because like it was just a puppy at the time, but
Oh,
she she could get up on top of the pot. So I didn't know. It was one of those like unknowns, so I just left it and
yeah.
started over.
Yeah, I hear you. So then in the 5 gallon and the 3 gallon pots inside, what's your feeding schedule, your top dressing schedule like with those? Obviously, you have to do them a little quicker with the 3 gallon. You
Yep.
might be able to last another week or two with the 5 gallons, but
Yeah, like with the threes, I'll do it like every couple weeks, like every 2 weeks roughly, maybe three, depending on what the plants look like. And with my fives, I'm on schedule with every 3 weeks.
yeah. Yeah, I'd
So
say like anything kind of a 7 to 10 gallon, you're able to do that, 4 weeks or so. But Yeah, anything 5 or less, it's 3 weeks for sure.
Yeah. I've made the mistake of going over the like going the recommended 4 weeks. What I think Gaia Green says every 3 to 4 weeks or something like that.
Yeah,
So okay, I'll try the 4 weeks. What's the worst that can happen? Well, yeah, they go deficient, and then it takes a while for your plants to get it.
yeah,
So
yeah. And it
yeah,
seems like the first thing that starts to go deficient is nitrogen as well. Like I've noticed that in kind of mid flower with
yeah,
organics and small pots, it's nitrogen first. Your plants just start yellowing out right away.
yep,
So I like
always.
I like to
Well,
add a
for me
little bit
anyways,
of
always
bone meal when I'm doing a top dress mid flower as well, or not bone meal, sorry, blood meal. Uh,
love milk.
yeah, get a little bit of nitrogen in there along with worm
Yeah,
castings and stuff.
yeah, definitely. I'll do like worm castings. I might top dress depending on kind of how I'm feeling, but that's not really a schedule. I always do it on schedule with my feedings, but there's times where I'll do it in between as well. For worm castings, I'll also make teas. Um, I'll if I run into like a nitrogen deficiency, I also use Alaskan fish fertilizer. So it's not super high in nitrogen, but it does have readily available water soluble nitrogen that's available like now.
Yeah,
So I will mix that in with some water. I like to add it to my teas, but if I need it like today, I'll just mix it up and add it in, and it'll help bring a little bit of life back in the soil, and it'll also give nitrogen.
yeah, perfect. So what's your top dressing kind of like? What is it? Just Gaia Green, or are you adding that in with the compost and some worm castings as well? What's your schedule
So
like there?
I add worm castings for sure. I use Vermabec worm castings. He's a great guy. So if anybody needs worm castings or is interested, he's really reachable. Um, he's got a YouTube. He's on Instagram, all that. But so I use Vermabec worm castings. I use all-purpose Gaia Green. I use alfalfa meal. I use kelp meal. I use oyster shell flour and diatomaceous earth as well. And I used to use neem seed meal, but I've kind of steered away from that. And at one point, I was using like green sand and rock phosphorus or rock phosphate, mineralized rock phosphate. There was a bunch of stuff I was adding at one point. Insect frass, that's another one I like. Um, yeah, like there's so many, and honestly, like I'll run out of something, and I'll be like, okay, well, I just won't do it this run. But then I'll end up getting it again halfway through the run because, I'm so used to adding that. I feel like I'm doing something wrong when I'm not.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There's a simple way of doing it where it's like you can just add your Gaia Green blends where it's just the 444 and the 284, or
yeah.
you can go the route of mixing up your own cocktail of different minerals and amendments and stuff.
Yeah,
That
like I've told people, like you can just grow with the 444 and the 284 and maybe add some worm castings in there,
yeah,
you know, put in some pro mix and just make sure you're on schedule with your feedings because they might need it a little bit more than what mine might because I give it more.
yeah,
Like I explained it like a multivitamin, right? Like
yep,
you get a little bit of everything and you can grow great plants and you can take a multivitamin and be super healthy. But you can also find out like your body or these plants are deficient in one thing. So you can add that one thing on top of your multivitamin that you're giving them.
hmm
So so yeah, I try to break it all up and I try to give it the multivitamin and then pinpoint certain things, make sure that they get everything that they need before they need it.
yep, exactly. Be proactive.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I also do I tried Green Rush nutrients. They're
Okay,
also organic.
and they're a
Not
Canadian
sponsored
company
by
too,
them,
aren't
right?
they?
Yeah, yeah. And they're again they're like the Vermabec company, like they're super reachable.
Yeah.
Like you can just message them and they'll get back to you and they'll answer any questions you have and they'll they're really good dudes. And I'm not sponsored by them. I've only tried them one run by themselves with no guy green, but I still had some left over. So I thought, well, instead of doing as many teas, why don't I just in between, I'll just use, because they have a bloom and they also have a grow.
Hmm.
So during veg, like I started adding that to my water, and once a week I'll add that into my water and I'll pour that on top of my top dress.
Nice.
So, and I do it in flower too. I've been doing it all through this run on flower, and these are some of the nicest flowers I've grown to date.
Yeah.
So,
And that's on your indoor stuff?
yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah.
What's your IPM kind of management? What do you do for IPM?
Um, I use Petra Tools Crop Defender.
Yeah. And you seems like it's working for you. I've used it a
Yeah,
couple
so
times,
far.
but
I use that and I use diatomaceous earth.
yeah.
And actually, this run, I had a problem with gnats. Like they just got out of hand, and like I didn't know what to do. I had the sticky traps. I was doing the Petra Tools. I was doing the diatomaceous earth top dress, like dust my tents, like try to wipe them out as best as I can. And I ended up getting the mosquito dunks.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever tried those or not.
Yep. Yep.
Man, those things so quickly, um, like killed my problem.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. It's a little bit more like on the expensive side, but you get a few of them, and I think I paid like $35 or something for six of them.
Yeah.
But I think I used one or maybe two for both. I think I used two for both my tents, and I just basically I broke them all into quarters and ground them up and top dressed my plants with them, and it lasts for 3 months.
Crazy. Yeah, I've used nematodes before for fungus gnats.
I
Uh,
did actually. Was that this run? That might have been my last run. I used the nematodes. I tried them for the first time.
yeah.
But they really freaked me out because I'd see these little things crawling all over my plants, and I was like, "Oh my God, I got another problem." But it was the predator mites
Yeah. Yeah.
just doing what they do, right?
Yeah, I was actually just in my seedling tent tonight. I have mixed up um some soil a few months back and it's just been sitting there doing its thing and um I gave it some moisture and I went in there kind of digging around a little bit and I see these little red predator mites in there as well. Like, oh, sweet, got good life in there. So
Yeah, and
hopefully
that
they
was my
don't
first
attack my
time using
seedlings.
them. That was my first time using them. I didn't know
Yeah,
what I was even looking for.
yeah,
So when I did see it, I was like, "Oh my God, there's like a million mites in here. Like my house is gonna get infested tomorrow."
yeah,
But then I thought about it. I was like, "No, those have to be the predator, the nematodes."
yeah.
And they were. I didn't have any pest problems or anything like that. They just did what they do and took care of everything for me. So,
A few grows back there, I had these little worms. I can't remember what they were called, like glass worms or something. They're just tiny little, like half-inch long, pretty see-through kind of whitish worm. And I was digging over, my rice hull, my mulch layer was kind of pushing it off to the side to do some top dressing. And I was
yep.
just like there. I was shocked how many little worms there were. I was like, oh, like what is this?
Yeah.
Uh, Turns out they're good. They're good for the soil. They eat all the eggs and whatnot for fungus gnats and
So they get all the larvae and
yeah. So
everything.
they're
Hmm,
definitely beneficial.
nice. And you don't remember what they were called?
No, I want to call them glassworms, but that's the fly fisherman in me. Like with lake fishing, there's
Yeah.
little like glassworm larvas or whatever. But I just um
Hmm.
Yeah, shit. I can't remember what the clear worms. So,
I'll look it up. I'll see what I can find
oh,
because that sounds like
pot worms.
pot worms, like
Yeah,
POT.
yep. POT, pot worms.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll have
They're
to
actually
check that out.
beneficial. So, I mean, in smaller quantities, obviously, if you have too big of a population of them, they could do some damage to your roots and whatnot and cause some issues. But they were. I talked to my friend Roxanne that owns a worm farm, and she said that they're good. So I went with it.
Nice. That's another thing, actually. I just started a worm farm not too long ago.
Yeah, nice. But
So just a small bin kind
yeah,
of thing. And again, I bought cocoons. I bought them from Vermabec,
yeah,
and yeah, basically you just like create this spot for them. Like it's all over YouTube. All the
cool,
information's everywhere. So I just put these cocoons in there, and next thing you know, I got worms. You
nice.
just make sure they're fed, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you've been feeding them just scraps, leftover vegetables, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, just vegetable scraps. Every now and then I'll try to like crunch up and rip up some leaves when I defoliate, and I'll throw some of those in there.
yeah,
Like brown paper bag type stuff. I'll shred some of that up. I'll put some of that in there. Avocado skins, avocados after they've gone bad and you're not gonna eat them.
yeah.
Cut those in half, throw them in.
Cool.
So yeah,
Yeah, I think I was talking to my last guest, Johnny. He said he just started a worm farm as well, and he adds all his worms into his pots and that. And
nice.
I was saying to him that something that I need to get into. I just have way too much stuff here. And my
Yeah.
wife won't let me.
Oh, but man, like so the reason that he got into the whole worm thing was not because he was trying to be a worm farmer. He was trying to cut down on garbage.
Yeah,
And I don't remember what he said, how many kids he had, but I think he has like either a family of five or a family of six. And he's got a big family, right? So they were constantly taking out too much garbage every week. So he ended up just starting these worm tables, and he said like I cut my garbage down like in less than half.
hmm,
So he said that they eat everything. He said I put a hat in there to see what happened. They ate it.
yeah,
Boxers, they ate them. Like everything.
yeah,
You know, the only
yeah.
thing they left was the button.
All right. Yeah, when I was interviewing Roxanne there, she was saying that she was doing tests on different coffee cups. So we got Tim Hortons, McDonald's, and Starbucks, and which one would break down the fastest and which one would have the least amount of leftover, um, you know, plastic material. Because inside of a McDonald's coffee cup, there's a dual layer cup, and inside that there's that plastic kind of
The
waterproof coating
layer.
kind of thing.
Yep.
But yeah, she said that Starbucks was the worst with them.
Really?
Yeah, Starbucks lasts the
Oh,
longest, but they would break down within just a few days with worms. As she goes,
but I bet they don't leak.
yeah, probably not as easy as a Tim Hortons cup, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get the leaders every other day.
yeah, I hate. I mean, as much as I hate Tim Hortons, I still drink their coffee.
Yeah, me too. Every day.
Yeah,
Every day.
yeah,
But that's kind of cool though, actually, like that she's doing those tests because for people that do drink Tim Hortons every day, instead of throwing that cup out, take it home,
yeah,
throw it in your worm and let them take care of it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if
So
it's
no, that's
uh if
cool.
it's easy enough, everyone should be doing it. I mean, I have a couple compost piles in the backyard just for throwing my scraps into. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I bought a
No, it really
55
isn't.
gallon drum and cut a hole in it and dump all my food scraps in there, and I roll it around every once in a while.
Yep.
Mix it up, and
Do you add anything to that? Like, do you add bokashi or anything to that?
yeah, yeah, I'll add some bokashi into it. I'll add some teas into it to get in some microbes and whatnot, and
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
But usually it does its own thing, and it's pretty quick at doing. doing what it needs to do. So
Nice. Yeah, that's one thing I did do, but we weren't really conscious about what we were putting into our compost.
yeah,
Um, I didn't know a whole lot about like alkaline or acidic or anything like that. So, like, there's certain things you can obviously add. Like, if you throw a bag of lemons in there every week, it's going to be super acidic, right?
yeah,
So, like, that's what we did. Like, my partner at the time was using a lot of lemons or limes, and they'd all go in the compost when they were done,
yeah,
and that compost became super acidic.
yeah,
And it really wasn't good for anything that I would use it for. So that's one thing that I would really like to get into is composting and being aware of what's in it and make sure I'm putting the right things into it for what I need.
yeah,
And also like getting more into the whole worm farm and stuff like that. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff like even those ferment teas that you were talking about when you came on. Um, I would love to get into those.
yeah,
Um, the labs. Oh, there's so much stuff. So
yeah,
much stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I have the PDF files for both the Jadam book and there's another like a I think it's just an organic gardening book. I think it's the same lines as the KNF stuff. Um,
Right.
but yeah, there's three different books. There's three different PDF files. I can send them to you when we're done here. It's
For sure.
it's a
Yeah, that'd be
massive
awesome.
benefit to learn how to do all this Jadam stuff, KNF stuff.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
Well, I mean, like it benefits your plants for one.
yeah,
But again, it's like composting, right? Like you're cutting down on waste. You're using something you're gonna throw in the garbage,
yeah, yeah. I
and
just
you're taking the benefits from that and then using it to benefit something else. Like it's just it's a win-win.
yeah. I
So
talked to my last guest and about this as well, and he yeah, I had a watermelon, pretty much a full watermelon that was just about to go bad, and I cut it up into 1 inch cubes, put the equal parts by weight watermelon and brown sugar together, and let it sit there and ferment. And in a 5 gallon bucket, I put some paper towel over top, let it sit for a few weeks, and came back and had that fermenting bubble and kind of a bacteria
hmm.
layer on it. And after about a
Do
month
you
or
bubble that with like an air stone or anything, or you
no,
literally
it
just
just
like let it be?
yep, let it sit and do its thing.
Okay.
The brown sugar is there to feed the microbes that are breaking down all the watermelon and plants and whatever you want to put into it. But I ended up getting like a full quart, mason jar of fermented fruit juice, and that's
Wow.
watermelon fermented fruit juice there. So you can just add this
Beautiful.
into your teas and use it as like a bloom enhancer kind of thing. It's
Yeah,
full of sugars
cool.
and kind of full of beneficial fertilizer.
So is there certain ones that you could add for like could you do one that's for veg and ones that are for flour? Is there certain foods that you can use to ferment that are better for different times?
Yeah, for sure. There's the fermented uh, plant juice, this is all defoliated cannabis leaves,
Okay.
and I defoliated my plants when they were in veg just before I flipped them to flower. Uh, so I use, you know, vegetative plants where they're going to be high in nitrogen, high in the vegetative nutrient.
Yep.
And then yeah, so you can just use that for your veg,
No.
and you can use the fruit juice with all the kind of more on the phosphorus and potassium side of things in your bloom
Yes, if you
cycle.
took like bananas or something like that, like banana skins or whatever, that'd be good for more of like your transition into bloom kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say it would be good right from transition all the way through flower for sure. So I think bananas are high in potassium, right? I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, banana
That's
teas,
cool.
banana. Yeah, cut them up into 1 inch cubes, equal parts brown sugar to banana. Let it sit for a few weeks to a month, even longer. The longer you let it sit, the better it's gonna get. So
So the longer you let it sit, it obviously it's going to get stronger. Um, like I assume you've used this on your plants.
yeah,
Can you burn your plants with this, or is this like
yeah. Obviously, when the longer you let it sit, the better it's gonna get. You're gonna want to reduce the ratio of um, liquid to liquid fertilizer to liquid, right? So
right?
right now, I think I'm at a like it only being a month worth of fermented. Um, I'm about 10 mils per gallon. Um, so I would, if I had like say a year old ferment, I would only do maybe like 2 mils per gallon or something. Don't quote
Right.
me 100% on this. I'm still learning myself, but from what I've learned, it's yeah, the longer you let it sit and do its thing, the better it's going to get, the less you have to use of it to get what
Right.
you need out of it.
Well, that makes sense. Like that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would go with that too. And then I think I would do kind of like what I did with like the synthetic nutrients, where I cut it way back and then step it up until I see I'm causing a problem, and then take it back just a little bit
Yeah.
to where it's not causing a problem, but you're pushing it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I'm definitely interested in that. And like Candy, she started getting into the labs.
yeah.
Or maybe no, maybe it wasn't the labs.
Yeah, I think she was calling it something else.
It
Yeah.
makes that crust on the top, or like that cheese on the top,
Yeah, yeah,
basically, and
yeah,
then
your
you let
cheese
that
curd, yeah.
dry out.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was doing that.
it's labs. Rice wash, rice wash water, and then add 10 parts milk to 1 part rice wash water after you let it sit, and then a couple days later,
Yeah,
curd's up on the top. You take that curd out, and then you're left over with the labs, and you can use that for everything. Powdery mildew, you can feed it to your soil, to your foliar, spray it onto your plants. Um, it's super beneficial. I've made a
yeah.
batch of that. I've made a batch of water soluble calcium with eggshells, roasted eggshells, and vinegar. Uh, yeah, a
Hmm.
couple of the fermented plant juice and stuff like that now. So it's a whole
I
different
find it
story.
so
It's awesome.
I, I find it so interesting. Like people are now like I'd never really heard about this before, and I've just kind of heard about this type of stuff over the last year, 2 years,
Yeah,
and I had never known enough about it. But now, with talking to people like yourself, or oh man, there's quite a few of them out there now. But people are taking their food, their scraps, and they're making their own nutrients. Like I just find it so cool that this is even a thing.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't know, it's like composting.
yeah.
It is
Exactly.
composting.
Yeah. Yeah, I have another pile out back with it's just grass clippings and leaf, so it's kind of equal parts carbon to nitrogen. Letting
Yep.
it sit there and do its thing, mixing it up every once in a while. And then I have another bin. The first bin that I was talking about was just basically all my food scraps and bokashi, little bit of starter compost into it just to get things kicked up. And
Nice.
yeah, yeah, the more
Very
self-sustaining you can be, the better off you're going to be, kind of financially, not having to rely on the supermarket for your vegetables and whatnot.
Well, that's it, right? Like you can grow your own vegetables, you can grow your own medicine, you can do all of this stuff, and you don't have to go like I assume you've grown all your own, well, you have grown all your own vegetables. I've seen it. Um,
I haven't
you go
grown
to
all
the
my
grocery,
own, but I do grow.
well, not
Yeah,
all your own, but you do
yeah,
grow vegetables.
yeah, yeah,
But you go to the grocery store and you buy a green pepper and
yeah,
you grow your own green pepper. It doesn't matter if it's the size of a dime.
yeah.
that dime-sized green pepper is way better than the grocery store pepper. Just, it's like the taste of I did this. Like, it's
Yeah.
a proud moment. I grew this and I can eat this.
Yeah, knowing what's in it and knowing that it
Yep.
didn't get sprayed by any nasty chemicals or Roundup or anything like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
All of it.
yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
But
Oh,
yeah.
I wanted to talk kind of the last point here. You're part of Homegrown, the community. You guys do
Yep.
live streams every Tuesdays and Thursdays on Instagram with both.
Every Tuesday we do interviews with like last night we just had Chad Westport.
Yeah,
Um, Next Tuesday we have Tourette Grower.
nice.
We got Microbial Life Hydro coming up. We got Trim Bag coming up. We got Northern Scrogger coming up. So, and those are all on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. And we do Fridays as well at 9 p.m. Eastern. And that one's about the community. That one's about the Gromies. Like we want to bring people on that want to show their plants. Um, you know, Anybody. It's like an open mic night.
Yeah,
So whoever wants to come on and talk, show us your plants, tell us what you do, maybe learn something, maybe teach us something. Like we learn something new every Friday night. Well,
cool.
every live we do, we learn something new. Doesn't matter if
Yeah,
it's a Tuesday or a Friday, we learn something.
yeah,
And it's just Fridays are the home growers. Like they're just normal people that like to grow their own medicine and they come on and they talk to us and they show us what they got and you know, it's cool.
yeah, yeah. You guys have had me on twice now. I appreciate you guys bringing me on.
Yep.
It's always a fun time. Got to
Oh,
talk a lot about
absolutely.
mushrooms and stuff and
Yeah, and
everything.
I actually last Friday I talked to oh God, little cannabis family. I'm probably wrong, and he's gonna be mad at me. Um, um, he's another mushroom grower,
Nice.
and he came on and we talked about mushrooms, and like the dude was just so full of mushroom knowledge, and
Yeah,
like he like again that was like a real big learning moment for me, like I just there's so much that I learned in like a 5 minute period. It was like one of those
yeah,
moments.
right.
So
Yeah, the benefits of mushrooms and psilocybin are insanely powerful. It's
well,
now
and I
getting.
just recently watched that Fantastic Fungi
Yeah,
on Netflix.
yeah.
Oh my God. That's, you know,
It's insane. Yeah, that's what really kind of, after doing a small amount of mushrooms, I watched that as well, and it really piqued my interest in like how fascinating it was, like how big of a
it really
world
is.
and what you know how much it has incorporated into life itself, and like it interacting with trees and other specimens.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a beautiful world.
Yeah, I didn't know that there was so much information or so many different species of them or like it just that's a whole nother world.
Yeah,
Mushrooms. Like
yeah,
it really is. Like I've always focused on kind of like what I'm doing now with the cannabis and everything, but I would eventually I'd like to kind of dip my toes into the mushroom thing just to try it, say that
hmm
I've done it, because I just find it so interesting.
yeah,
And I don't even know that I would do them or not. Like I'm on the fence with it. I used to when I was a kid, a teenager and stuff like that, but I haven't done it in over 20 years. So
yeah. And that was more of
been a
like a
little bit of
recreational kind of drug for you, right? And now knowing what you
absolutely
know, it would probably be more beneficial for mental health and mental
for sure.
stability and whatnot. It's a
Absolutely. And that's how I would go into it. I would go into it as like this is beneficial to me. I wouldn't go into it like how many handfuls can I eat and still
yeah,
function? Like it wouldn't be that at all anymore, like it was when I was 16 or 17.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you you're stupid when you're 17.
Yeah,
You don't know anything.
yeah, but you think you got the
But
world by the balls, but yeah,
well, you think you know everything. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
I know raw, like RA mushrooms there, that I interviewed a few interviews back. He now has these kits that are just bags. So they're just little, 4x6 or 4x8 bags kind of thing. Um, they're small enough kits where you can just do them in your closet or in a cupboard or something. Uh, they're fairly decently priced, like I think they're around $30 or so. It's not too bad, but
Oh, that's not bad.
you get a good amount of mushrooms off that one kit, and you can, do a couple flushes off of it, so you'll have enough to be able to uh, have what you need, So uh,
Yeah, do your experimenting.
yeah, maybe
I honestly like. I would really love to get into the whole microdosing thing.
yeah,
That's what I would. That's I think what I would prefer to do over eating them and then going on that trip. I think I would want to microdose with them, and I've just heard so many good things about it.
yeah,
Um, yeah, like it's definitely something I need to do more research on for sure. Maybe
mm,
talk to a few more people and kind of get their point of view on it. But based off of what I've heard so far, I mean, I really haven't heard anything bad about it.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was nervous
it-
starting to microdose. I was unsure of it, and I was like, oh, is this gonna make me trip? And kind of, I don't know, should I do it? And I started doing it. Never had any sort of like bad effects from it whatsoever. Sometimes I would take a little too much. I'd have like a 200 milligram
yeah,
dose instead of like my normal 100s, and it would kind of have like a little bit of a, ooh, I'm kind of feeling a little bit, but
yeah,
I just knock it back down to 100 and away I went. But it's a good
yeah,
benefit doing microdosing.
yeah.
I
I think
mean,
I would feel more comfortable with that than just eating like a couple grams or
yeah,
something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
I definitely recommend doing a couple grams, like probably once or twice a year.
yeah,
Have a good be in a good setting and have a good trip for a few hours. Reset your brain.
go find my spirit guide.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I've heard that too, and yeah, you just got to be either in the right environment, the right people. Everything has to be right
Yeah,
because you can, I think, go on that negative, get that negative vibe from it for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I like to do it camping. It's where my heart belongs. It's where I feel the most relaxed and at peace. 3-4 days into camping, totally relaxed, kind of in my zone, do 3-4 grams and have a ride.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
yeah,
Well, you're out there with nature anyways, so I mean,
yeah,
I think that's where you'd want to get spiritual.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So, yeah, nice.
beautiful, man. Well, it's kind of getting up onto the hour here. Is there anything fun and exciting coming up in the future for you?
Um, for me personally, not off the top of my head. Like I'm just kind of trucking along. Like I lost my Instagram account a little while ago, and I'm just now rebuilding my new one, which
Yeah,
sucks. It's fourth time I've done it.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
give
yeah,
everyone your shout outs for your socials and whatnot.
Instagram is 420 Organiks with a K with the underscore at the end. We got Homegrown the Community Official. Um, we're talking about doing a Homegrown the Community YouTube page, and I think we're going to start putting our live we're going to save all our Instagram lives, and then we're going to post them on YouTube later on.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
Just
good idea.
it's just another place to kind of keep them locked
Archived.
up.
Yeah,
Another place for other people to go see them. Not everybody has Instagram. Um, yeah, so everybody go follow Candied Amber Farms, Mama Kush 420. Those are the Homegrown the Community ladies. And yeah, and tune in for Tuesday nights and Friday nights.
awesome. What time? Tuesdays and Fridays.
9 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for both.
Cool.
on Instagram. So Fridays would be, most of the time it's me that hosts them. So if you're not following everybody, look for me live, or Tuesdays it's usually Candy Dammer Farms that hosts them. So if you're not following all of us, look for her on there.
Yeah.
So
Awesome,
yeah,
man. Well, I'll also link all that stuff in the description section below. And yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you and being an awesome guest.
I appreciate you having me here, man. That hour went by quick.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have you on again in the future once I get things rolling again. So
Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
yeah, cool. Well, if for you the guys that are watching on YouTube, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those kind of things. And people watching or listening on Apple and Spotify, please leave a review. Helps me, helps the algorithm. It helps get guys like Mr. 420 Organics, a little bit more traction. Get the the community out there, and yeah, I appreciate everyone listening and watching. So until next time, guys.